Welcome, guys, to another series of On the Path with Cheryl Nembhard. I am so excited that you are with us, and I always say us because I believe we are in the school of life. We are learning, growing, loving from our challenges, from our failures, from our mistakes, from our successes. All of it is a huge lesson that we can take and apply and become better and really get on this journey to being our best selves. And I'm so thankful for all the support that you guys have given, all of the views, all of the comments and the feedback. I'm so happy that these vlogs are impacting you, inspiring you, challenging you in some way. That's really was my hope, is that it would sort of give you some tools. And today I thought we'd really tackle one of the biggest topics that we can never stop talking about, which is being on the path to healthy marriages. As you know, marriages, for those that are in it, it's not easy. It's work. It takes a lot of work. And it's intentional, and it's making decisions daily to stay in the game, to work it out, and to find ways to come together, to communicate, to get on the same page. And I know there's been a lot of questions. A lot of people that I interact have a lot of questions about marriage. So I thought that I would bring you to the home of two people that have changed my life. Well, let me tell you a little bit about Dean and Lorie Hartshorn. Dean and Lorie Hartshorn are incredible friends of mine. They're really like family, and they have been leaders, both in the church setting, in the community, even in their home. They've hosted small groups and mentored couples, and they are always teaching and always sharing. And they live their life as what I call, as you know now, lighthouses. They illuminate from the very stories and experiences of their life to help others journey a lot easier. And you are going to be blown away by some of their answers, by their story. They are raw, they are honest, they are authentic. So in just a few moments, we're going to be talking healthy marriages. So grab your coffee. Let's get on the path to healthy marriages. See you in a bit. I can see every hair in
my head here. I just look like this horrific horror movie or something. With the glasses.
I guess first thing, why don't we just tell the viewers, how long have you guys been married?
33 years.
This July.
In harmony.
Yeah.
I'd love to just randomly ask you if you could describe your marriage journey in a couple of words. What would it be?
I would say it was joy, joy even in suffering, because it really has been a pleasure for me anyway, which I really appreciated. Yeah, joy.
Yeah, I'd say joys, but we actually like to laugh a lot, so that's actually been something that's got us through. So laughter, but yeah, joy doesn't mean everything's perfect or right, but it is learning to have joy even in the struggle. Yeah.
Could you share a little bit about the individual journey that you had in marriage, like maybe something you brought or learned about yourself or had to change, anything about you as an individual before we get into the couple stuff?
Yeah, I came from a situation where I didn't see the best marriage demonstrated in front of me. My parents, they had a love, but it really wasn't demonstrated real well. And I learned later on in life, what some of the circumstances were around that. So for me coming into marriage, I had a lot to learn. I really did. I came into it somewhat selfish because that's what I saw in demonstrated in my father and his father. And I had to learn that this was not just about me and the things that I wanted. I needed to give up the stuff that I claimed as mine, and I needed to share in life with another person.
Yeah.
And so that selfishness I had to learn to get rid of and deal with. Yeah.
Wow. What you, Lorie?
Well, I mean, to the selfishness, I grew up in a family where you shared everything. So I'm like, what do you mean that's yours? So, you know,
everything of yours.
Yeah, boundary crashing. Anyway, for me, I came into marriage. I mean, Dean and I had dated. Actually knew each other 9 years before we got married. We were friends. We did ministry together. Then I went away to the States to school. And in that time, like, we weren't dating, but we were great friends. And wasn't really anticipating marrying him. But then, you know, as the Lord did work in our life, it came back. And I'm like, we actually quickly got married. Even though we knew each other well, we really did make a quick decision. We were married within 6 months of me returning from school.
Ooh.
And so I entered marriage, great man. You know, I was fortunate. I married such a great guy, but I struggled with doubt. And I think some of it was because I just lived sort of this whirlwind life. And I'm also a dreamer. And I have these, you know, big ideas. I love telling stories. So I had this idea and expectation of marriage. It was going to be this great adventure. And a lot of marriage is just normal every day, right? And I just was really struggling with
it's not what you see in movies?
No, not usually.
No way.
Yeah. But I struggled with doubt, and I know that that's a real thing, actually.
Yeah.
I kept that very private because I felt so ashamed to even be doubting.
What sort of past childhood upbringing shaped you, and what did you bring from the past into your marriage?
I saw dysfunction there. My mom always strived to, you know, have a really healthy family unit. She tried to protect me from difficulties within their marriage and particular sin struggles that my father had, and so she was really good at that, and she was a praying warrior too, so that was really helpful. Obviously, even me moving forward, just knowing she was praying for me. But those were the struggles that I did not want to take into my marriage. Like, I wanted a partner whom I loved and could care about, and they care about me and love me deeply and demonstrate that. So there were fears. There were definitely fears in my life and insecurity. You know.
I think I've got to ask you. I'm totally putting him on the spot because we didn't talk about this, but someone's out there saying I can identify with that. How did you work through that? Like, how did you shake the fear? How did you shake the insecurities?
You can't change the person. Like, couldn't go about our marriage hoping to convince her of myself, you know, and that I'm worth it or whatever. I really sought to be really a man of God that would, whatever I had to change or do or be within, you know, myself. You can't be somebody else. You have to be yourself, you know, but at the same time, yourself is not just all the garbage. You have to work on being a better you too, you know. And with the grace of God and Him working in my life and stuff, I saw that happen.
You know what? The wedding day is the beginning of the story. And I grew to love Dean. I grew in love with Dean. I
have to say it again. The wedding is the beginning of the story. Because don't we make so much
we do make
emphasis on the wedding, the dress, the this, that,
the cost,
and the marriage. Nobody's putting that equal investment into.
And I would honestly say, like, I grew in love with him because of and we both having to make intentional decisions about growing your marriage and desiring to be closer. But it doesn't just happen. We had to really decide that that's what we were wanting, you know. And like, you have to make a choice in marriage. Like, what do you want? What kind of marriage do you want? You have to. Is it Dr. Phil says, create what you want? Like, you really do have to, even no matter what your fears, your insecurities, your doubts, your struggles, you create what you want.
Lorie, what about you? What in your past, in your childhood, what, you know, gave a bearing to who you were? How did it play a role? Like, Cheryl?
Yeah, I mean, I so appreciate my upbringing for lots of reasons. But we came from quite different family backgrounds. My family's, even you can see it in my own personality, expressive.
No.
Right? And we kind of said what we thought.
Yeah.
And we were just out with it. And we would have like, if we were going to discuss or debate or argue or fight about things,
big communicators.
not always healthy, but we would just, you know, it would just be out on the table and you just do that. And he came from a family that didn't talk about anything. Like, it was better to just put it under the carpet and just like, let's just not talk about it. So there was a real, need to, how do we work through this? And I'm not suggesting my way was the better way, although there were times when I thought so. But you bring that in from your marriage, right? And and just there was as I began to see sort of roots of anger in my family, I could feel that coming up in me, and at times, unfortunately, it was a reality of my reaction. And Dean is he's a gentle and softer approach. And I could just see the grace of God in helping us as we came from such different homes and such different upbringings, to be able to come together, sort of like from here to sort of adjust to each other and somehow, shape each other from that.
And I love that. And what I'm hearing from you, and please let me know if I'm kind of encapsulating this, but rather than try to bang each other and chisel each other painfully into what you want each other to be, which I picked up from Dean, you learn to sort of recalibrate and say, okay, like, how do we balance each other out?
Right.
So it's not about changing the other person. It's about sort of balancing to where they are. That's huge.
It's huge about accepting each other. Like, he is a cup half empty, I'm a cup half full. That's kind of we approach life. And we actually, when that used to irritate me, why can't you see it my way and it's positive and all, and he's like, yeah, but here's all the negative. Yeah. I actually began to value that. Because I'm like, actually be better if I thought sooner about what maybe the problems and challenges. So we began to honor and respect each other and our differences. I think that's been a huge help to us. We encourage other couples with that. Like, how many couples are the same anyway? Like, it's very rare.
And do you want that?
You don't.
You don't want that.
You want to honor and respect each other for your differences.
Yeah.
And not try to make them like you, but actually appreciate the differences in each
I love
other.
this conversation.
Right?
Do you see why I chose Lorie and Dean, people? Because they tell it like it is, and they drop these awesome nuggets of wisdom. Can you share openly, whatever you feel comfortable in sharing, the storms and the obstacles that threatened this healthy marriage, and how in the world did you come out of the storm still sitting beside each other
33 years
in the same room, in the same marriage, same building, all of that?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
we
you're
both
guaranteed,
know what it is.
I mean, you're guaranteed storms, first of
yeah.
all. They're going to be there. I don't care what the marriage is. It's not always rosy.
Yeah.
Our biggest struggle certainly was the teen years. And
of your children.
Of our kids. And they, all three of them in a season, were rebellious and prodigals and running, and very difficult to be around, to manage. It affected us in many ways. It affected our marriage. In fact, there were so many days when I didn't even want to come home from work because I just knew what I was coming home to. Could be Lorie in the fetal position on the floor because she discovered drugs on one of the kids.
Wow.
And, just...
was there a lot of anger and a lot of...
There were so many emotions. Anger, there was doubt. We even, I think, questioned our walk with God at times. We were trying to be faithful in our lives, but what was happening?
We were both feeling like failures, like
failure. Yeah.
And it wasn't like yelling and screaming or all. It was just like they were basically. We had such a loving, fun family.
Yeah.
And this, it seemed like a shift almost overnight. And our kids changed and their values, so you feel like they're rejecting you. And they would even say, it's not about you guys. Like, we just need to go, we're just find ourselves, or we're doing, we just want to be like other kids and do the party scene and all that. But it did affect us. We felt very personally hurt by our kids. And again, when you're different people, you approach it different. So I'm like good cop, bad cop, right? As my kids would have called me. Like, investigating, and we got to go out in the road 2 in the morning to find the children and everything. And he's like, no.
I'm not a conflict guy, so for me, like trying to avoid conflict and isolation was big. So trying to run from the problem, but it couldn't. So I had the pressure. Lorie was like, "You need to step up. You need to step up."
Yeah.
And so here I am trying to deal with my own emotions and struggles with it the best I can, and yet trying to be that leader that I needed to be as well.
It's so big, actually, guys. Literally, I'll throw up some links. There's several talks about this. There's a book. There's a teaching series. There's so many things that have come out on the other end. Good stuff. So you know that it had a happy ending. But the learnings were so big that they had to sort of just put it out there. Yeah. How did you come out of it?
Wow. I tell you, and that's when we learned to start praying together. I think the beginning of us coming together was understanding that this is actually not all about us. It's not all about you and your parenting, how your kids turn out. That there was warfare going on for our family. Like, this is darkness. Yeah. This was demonic. Yeah. And when we sort of woke up and realized we could be, and the enemy wants to keep you just right here, it's about each other. When we kind of woke up to the reality that, there's something bigger going on here. This is an attack on our family. Then it kind of made us both feisty to say, we're not going to let the enemy win. We are not going to let the enemy steal our marriage, steal our kids, steal all that God has assigned to us as individuals.
So I just got to say, so a point that's coming out of this is that realizing that you are not each other's enemy, but you are rather each other's ally for the greater enemy of life and stress and darkness and all of that, rather than turning in on each other, kind of turning to each other for support. I love that.
We went to counseling. It was a great place to land. We got ourselves in a counselor's office and knew we couldn't navigate this alone. We reached out to, wise counsel friends and our church, and really, practically speaking, we started praying together. Yeah. And that was the most powerful turnaround in our marriage. Whether you're a praying person yet or not, prayer is powerful. And we started praying together.
Prayer warriors praying on our behalf, too. Yeah. We invited people into our difficulties. Yeah. Which a lot of people don't want to do. They don't. No. They want to keep it private. It's like, this is our problem, but we found real blessing in laying it out for others.
Wow. I am so blown away, and I hope you were too, by the honest discussion that we had. I have to ask you this before we go. It's a vlog. I could stay here for another 2 hours, but as I said, it's just a few minutes of some nuggets. As we close, I'd love for you to just sort of leave with the viewers maybe 2 things each. A big life lesson that has shaped you. Maybe it's like your anthem. It's a thing you kind of share with others anytime you can. And the big life lesson you've learned about marriage.
I believe fully in the commitment to marriage, the institution of marriage, and it's something to work at. And I feel in our culture that it's something that people go into loosely now and don't have that commitment. So for me, it's worth the work. It's worth the effort. I also like to see my wife as my best friend. She's always been a friend of mine and a good friend, my best friend. And I also consider her a gift. Like, if we have that kind of mindset too, that awesome. Consider that, I see her as a gift from God to me. So I need to cherish that gift and hopefully nurture it.
It's easy to lose sight of it.
It is easy. It is easy. We go about our roles, our duties, and whatever, but not forgetting who this person is. A gift from God.
Well, I'll just add to that is one of the things we love to do, including this blog, is really we're champions of marriage. And we, even with people who, whether they weren't followers of Christ or even had the same faith or faith at all, actually, and were going through a really hard time in their marriage, and all of their friends basically were like, just ditch it, get over it already. And we were the only ones who said, you guys can win in this. And they have thanked us for that. And we thought, you know what? We need to be champions of marriage. Even through some really difficult things, we do believe that marriage is a beautiful thing. Yeah. And it's worth fighting for. It's worth fighting for. And I know how many friends that have moved on, they ditched it and they moved on to the next post. And honest conversations with them, every one of them said they wish they worked on the first one. Not to discount, their spouse now, but they really wish that they had done the work. And it's worth it to do the work.
Because in doing the work, you're not just sort of building the marriage, you're building yourself
Yes,
up.
absolutely.
There's so many things you're learning about yourself as you do the work.
Absolutely.
It has been, I'm full. What can I say? My head is filled with a lot of wisdom. I hope that yours is too, and I hope that something, touched your heart, impacted you in some way. Maybe you're seeing things differently, and that is all good. That's exactly what we were hoping for here. Hopefully you've been inspired. If you have a question for Dean and Lorie, please just throw it in the comment box. I will make sure to throw it over to them. And, I think I'll end on Lori's note. We want you to win. We want you to win in marriage. So thank you so much for being with us on this time. Lorie, gosh, thank you, Dean. These are my friends. They're awesome. And guys, marriage is worth fighting for. So if you are on the road, getting on the road, you just bought the car, getting ready to start, guys, marriage is a wonderful thing. Marriage done right is the best choice you can make. Enjoy it. Enjoy the journey, because it is a beautiful one along the way. We will see you soon, guys. Keep learning, keep loving, keep growing, and keep grabbing those lessons. We are all teachers and we're all students. I'll see you on the path. Wow. I told you, these guys are awesome. A special thank you to Lorie and Dean Hartshorn for sharing so openly and transparently about what they've learned along the way, along the path to a healthy marriage. I was sitting there listening to them and thinking about my own marriage. I've been married for 23 years and I got married really young. And that came with all of its challenges. It came with a lot of clashing. I call it Clash of the Titans when we came into our relationship in our early years in marriage. And a lot of people have asked me to, share some thoughts on marriage. And here's what I know for sure. Here's what marriage is not. It is not a power struggle. It is not two people coming together, fighting for voice, fighting for identity, fighting to have space, and trying to chisel painfully the other person into what they want. You can't change someone. Marriage doesn't change someone. Marriage complements who they already are. It enhances who they already are. And so it's two people coming together, whole in themselves, their own purpose, their own passion, their own identity, their own vision, and complementing to the other person. And the adjustments are not forceful change. The adjustments are calibration. Coming into a balance, pulling the strengths from the other person, looking at the weaknesses, and finding ways that we fill the gaps for each person, and the two become one and become whole. Not two halves, but two whole people coming together and being whole. So here's to learning, here's to loving, here's to growing. I'll see you on the path.